time on the Molden cast is Aydan.
Hey, welcome to the podcast. It's so good to have you here, Aydan. I'm so honored that you'd be part of this pretend podcast that we're making into a real podcast with our family, the Molden podcast. Yeah. So, how old are you?
16.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what grade are you in? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
I am in 11th grade, so junior year of high school.
Okay, so what's it like to be a junior?
It's like a combination of super fun and super stressful at like the same time.
How so?
It's like the stress is all the homework and like that kind of thing, because you're like gotta read and take an E before class and answer the questions or like whatever, and then you're also like do the pre-calculus homework or whatever it is, and you're like, but then there's also super fun because you're making like you get to know people, and it's really fun with like, I don't know, just knowing people from all over.
You mean all over like the States?
Yeah, well, actually, I know a few people that aren't in the States.
Yeah, from other countries.
Yeah, from school.
So tell us a little bit about like how do you go to school and know all these people? Like, what's that like?
Yeah.
What is your school like?
So we go to an online school. Me, Kira, and KK all go to an online school. And basically on your computer you could attend classes. It makes it so that you barely ever have like days you don't do school. Like in the school week.
You mean you never get snow days because you can usually?
Yeah, or if like your internet's out, then you can just watch the recording of the class.
Oh, right.
Which is
there's no way around.
Yeah, there's not really.
There's no way.
It's only if like the teacher decides to cancel it, and sometimes they do a makeup class.
Right.
But then so I have that, which is super fun, and so we have at 7 a.m. we leave in the morning to go to our co-op. Which there's in the high school room, there's 11 of us right now.
Yeah.
And so we each have our own desk and chair and that kind of thing. And you like sign into your classes and share breaks, and you can see everyone's schedule.
That's awesome.
Which is nice, so that like you kind of learn like, I share a break with Kieran and this person at this time, or like whatever.
Yeah.
And then almost everyone shares lunch break at the same time, which is nice. It
sounds like you really love your schooling that you do now.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah. But I just have to say, like, to give you credit, like the schooling that you do is like, when I look at like the syllabus and stuff and like what you're doing, I'm like, oh my gosh, you guys are doing college level stuff. So I just have to say, like, the fact that you love it must mean you're super smart and you love learning, and plus you love your community, because I am just so impressed with how much you guys all do. So how old were you when kind of everything started changing? Like, what I'm getting to is like this book I wrote. So can you give like a little synopsis to people who haven't? It's called We Wrote Your Name in Color. And I just want to hear from your words how you would describe this book.
This book is, I don't know, it's just like a story of a segment of our lives. So it's not all of our lives, and our lives can't be encapsulated in a book because you need a million different perspectives, and then after you write it, you're like, oh, but then like this stuff, like while I'm writing it, is happening. So it's a very small snippet of like that year mostly, or like the 9 months when my right after my aunt and uncle died, my cousins moved in and are now my siblings. Mom and dad are pregnant, and so I have a little sister coming, and then our dog dies at the end of it, in the point of it. And yeah, I don't know, it's just like all of these.
And not only that, where are you living at this point?
We're living at our grandparents' house. Yeah, so we started at one grandparent's house for 6 months because we thought it'd be a year building process. It was not. It was longer.
Right.
And so we did the first 6 months with one grandparent, and then we moved to the other grandparent. And both our grandparents live fairly close. Like from where we live now, we're 2.5 miles either way.
Yeah.
From them. And so it that was weird. But so then we moved in with our the second set of grandparents. And it's just it was difficult in some ways because it's like we started new school. But it was also like Katrina and I shared our bunk bed, and we had the room.
Yeah.
And then mom and dad would sleep in like this other room that was
disconnected.
Yeah,
from
it was
from
not
the garage.
connected.
Yeah.
And so that was always, very scary, especially when there's frogs in the way. of
Right.
getting
And you would have to go outside and
Yeah.
over, which was really
Yeah.
not ideal.
There was a few times I remember being like one because we had we had the phones that had intercom, so I could intercom mom and dad. And so I'd like talk to them especially when I like wake up in the middle of the night or whatever. And one time there was like all these frogs
Yeah,
outside in
I
between
remember
the two
that.
spots.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
that
like
was
a little Lego frog.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah. So while you were living there, we found out we were pregnant. So boom, you're not going to be the oldest, even though you have been for 10 years, right?
Youngest.
Or youngest. You're not going to be the youngest. Thank you. And then 2 months after that, we told you that Danny and Rena had died. So that's when you were 10. So you probably were a little younger when we even moved out of our house. So
Yeah. Well, no, I was still 10 because of when my birthday lands.
oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And so and then you find out that Kieran and KK are going to come live with us. So there's so much happening. And like, what was that like to find out that you're going to be sharing your parents? And like, what were some aspects of this that like people might not know about you?
Yeah. Honestly, my memory of it is like kind of vague.
Yeah.
We had since we were at our grandparents' house, we got to have like a lot of sugar and stuff like that. So that was that probably helped in fogging it.
Yeah.
From my memory. Yeah, I don't know. It was really sad and hard to deal with because I didn't know where my place was because like it hurt, but it was also like it didn't feel like it was real.
For sure.
I don't feel like I've ever really felt like it was like real. Like kind of think like I've never really registered that, but like I have like accepted it. If that makes sense. Like if you can't register something, but you're like that's how it is. Almost. Don't know if that's quite the way I mean
I
to
think
say
it was so much too. I think your brain just can't like know what
Yeah.
life's gonna look like. So where do
Yeah.
you put it? Yeah.
Yeah, so that was it was both, but there was also like some really good parts because like at that point Kieran was one of my best friends because and so now she's living with me, which is great and not great because arguments spark or whatever.
You guys don't seem to argue that much.
No, we
though.
don't. Not anymore. We did argue when we were younger though,
Yeah.
because we're both really opinionated people.
Yeah. I think that's actually one really surprising thing because you guys argued a lot as cousins. But you don't
Yeah.
argue. And then maybe when at first, like you guys had some stuff to figure out being roommates.
Yeah.
But then kind of after that got figured out, I'm like, for
Yeah.
being roommates and both being, very strong women, very opinionated, very much like very close quarters.
Yeah.
I'm like, you guys, I mean, I don't see you argue very much at all. Can
Yeah.
you speak to that? Like,
We got better at like communicating because that's a big thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was I don't even know how where the shift actually like happened because I think it was just like a slow shift and it was just like poof one day it was but we did have some really heavy arguments and that type of thing, and then now we don't argue at
You had to
all.
work through some stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's it. You want to work through it. You don't want to like put it off and then just keep having it spark up and be like, no, we're not talking about that.
Right. So actually, you're not just like it coming up and then just almost like patching it. You're actually like.
I think part of that was also like realizing different things. Like, I realized whenever Kieran and I would argue, she'd never, if I ever told her anything like that was super deep and personal to me, she would never bring it up whenever we would argue. And I think that honestly had a huge part in it because like she also showed me that as an example. Like she just wouldn't ever like. It's kind of like those things where it's like
it's not like you have dirt on the other person.
Yeah.
When you're arguing, you don't do that. Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, and then like also we did things where it was like in some of our arguments we were like, I need. Like, can you even give me an example of like that or like whatever, which isn't a great way to go, but like it does kind of put things, if you're willing to accept it, like in perspective. It's like, can I even think of an example like besides right now where this has happened? Like if I'm saying this is a continuous thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And then so listening and learning each other
is
a big part of like that communication to come to a resolution.
Yeah.
And then like a different system. Yeah. I love that. I feel like so many people could do that. I think even when you're married, like to not use something someone said to you in vulnerability against them. Like, I mean, like you could think like in
then it breaks
all
that
relationships,
trust,
right?
in a lot of ways.
Right. And so it's almost like, you just decide that's never going to be on the table. And then I think everything you just said so wisely about communication can be with so many different relationships too, depending on how deep you got to go, but yeah, that's so wise. What was it like changing over from being like just having Katrina as a sister and now you have another sister and a brother?
Yeah, it was hard at first. I mean, like, I don't really remember a lot of the in-between stuff.
Yeah.
I just kind of remember it happening.
Yeah.
And it just kind of felt like we were cousins for a very long time, like, just the same way, because we were pretty close cousins.
Yeah, you already had such a good relationship, actually. Like, you
and so, like,
hung out a lot.
Yeah, especially, like, right after it happened, Kieran, KK, and I, we'd all just play, like, Minecraft together.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Like, for hours, and, like, that kind of thing, which was, I don't know, it felt kind of normal for being at grandma's house, and, like, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, I don't know, and then at some point, it must have changed, I guess. I think I do remember a few points in there, but, like, not, like, super vividly, just, like, and now it's, like, I don't even think of them, like, I kind of had the hard thing of, like, cousin and sister, like, that weird, like, where, like, how do the lines meet, and it's, like, do I call you mom, or do I call you Jessie, because she calls you Jessie?
Right.
Or, like, yeah, that was a hard one. That was a really hard one.
Yeah.
Or like, when I'm talking to her, how do I refer to you? Do I refer to you as Jessie, or do I refer to you as...
Right, because Kieran KK called me Jessie for so long. Yeah. So,
or like Auntie Jessie, or like whatever it was.
Yeah, for sure. So where are you in the lineup of siblings? Because
so I'm the middle of the middle. So there's all 5 of us. Put it like on hand, I would be the middle finger, I guess, because but it's like, if you have it on a hand, it's like, it'd be like,
show us.
I'm not gonna it's like, I don't know, like, if you have it like Katrina, and then Kieran, and then me, and then Kate, and then Mila. It's a really easy way to like, remember all of them.
Yeah.
And then, Mila's the shortest, so Katrina's the second shortest, and I'm taller than all of them.
Yeah,
I'm taller than Kieran.
So you're the middle. So you're the third oldest and third youngest. I love how you say that.
Yeah.
That's great.
And I'm in the middle of the middle. So like, we call us 3, me, Kieran, KK. We all call ourselves the middles, because we're in between the 2 bookends of Mila and Katrina. Right. Which kind of works, because it's like, if you say our all of our full names, it all ends in Ann. So Kieran, Aydan, and KK just goes by KK now. And
but Kaden.
Yeah. But, and then we have Mila, which ends in an A, and then Katrina, which ends in an A.
Which is crazy, because of course we didn't plan any of this together, right?
No.
Yeah. So what was it like having a brother? Like, you went from having a sister, but you had never had a brother.
I don't know. Like I said, it felt like we were cousins still, so it didn't really feel like that.
That helped to transition a ton.
Yeah, and also being in, like, just being, we're just cousins. Like, that's just, and then I don't even know when it happened, but like now, especially, I'm like, wow, it's so lovely to have a brother. Like, we started working on a swing dancing flip and stuff like that, and like, it's really nice because Katrina does like the guy part for swing dancing, and then KK does the guy part for swing dancing, and so Kieran and I do the other parts, and so it's really fun because now there's 4 of us that do that, so it's like really fun, so that you can like do, I don't know, like for dancing especially, and like, I don't know, just learning things, like, and that kind of stuff. Yeah, like getting to know.
Yeah, I loved seeing him take care of you guys as sisters too, like opening doors or shoveling a path or whatever. We've had a lot of snow lately, so but I just think that's like, it is cool to have a brother and to see like how he cares for his sisters, and like, what a beautiful thing for you to carry in your life. That's cool. That really explains a lot of like how the transition, because you were so close. I mean, there are a lot of things that were already built. Yeah. And then you just had, and then using a lot of the like communication tools and the like actually
which you learn as you go. Like, I've learned so many things. Like, if I were to relay them, it'd be like overwhelming, if like to younger me, but like to younger me, like, it just, you learn one at a time. You learn one every 3 weeks or like whatever. Yeah.
So by the time you got to adoption day, it probably wasn't even like, speak to that. Like, these people, I mean, what was that transition like?
Yeah, no, adoption didn't change anything. I mean, like, it changed legally, it changed stuff.
Right.
But it didn't feel like it changed anything. Like,
no.
It was at that point, it was already like, that point I already figured out, like, it's okay for me to call you mom, and like that kind of thing. And like, I don't know. We were already siblings at that point.
Do you think it was hard to call me mom because you didn't want them to feel weird? Was that it? Or because you'd always called me mom. So
no, I just didn't know what to do, because it was like, especially when I'm talking, like if you were Kieran, I would be like, like younger Kieran and
Oh,
I was
right.
younger Aydan, I'd be like,
Mom.
do I call it like
or
reference
Jessie,
like
yeah.
mom said, or but then it's like
To you.
yeah,
it's
is it like
Jessie.
Jessie? So it's
Interesting,
like Jessie said, and then that sounds weird because it's I'm saying it. So that was
Yeah.
really weird, hard thing to
yeah,
figure out.
for sure. That's something probably very few people really understand. So thanks for explaining that. What was grief like for you? I mean, like, where were the parts that were hardest for you? And like, I was just wondering if you would be able to encourage anybody else.
Yeah, I don't know. Grief was kind of weird for me because like, well, kind of like I said, I didn't register that it had happened.
Mhm.
It was just kind of like it did happen, and then I ended up eventually accepting it. Like, like I didn't cry when they died, which was like felt wrong. I was like shocked, and I was in disbelief.
Almost.
kind
Did
of
you
thing.
feel like you
Or
didn't have as much right to grieve?
yeah, maybe a little. And then also part of it was just like me being human and the narcissistic and like some ways like feeling like it should all be me or something like that. And I'm like, it's also like in that part, it's like it wasn't my parent, like it was my aunt and my uncle, which still has a deep place to me, but it's like it's not the same. And so like actually sympathizing was really difficult.
Yeah.
Because when you don't grieve the same way as someone else and they're grieving, it's really hard to sympathize with them. Like, because you don't,
for sure.
like, you're just, you don't have empathy.
Because you're
the
trying
same
to
way.
keep your head above
Yeah.
water in your own
yeah.
torrent of like acceptance
And empathy
change.
has to do with feeling with someone else, and if you don't feel the same way they feel, it's really hard to like have that balance.
Mm-hmm. Because there's no way you could step back like in this situation. So much so that I remember you were such a comfort, especially to Kieran and KK, because you were in between them in age. You were the only person who was right by their age, and they felt really, really close to you, especially Kieran. And I remember her just like climbing in your bed.
Oh yeah, that was fun.
And you were the little top bunk together, and you guys were little sardine. I mean, it's like a twin bed already, and you guys were just like, and I just remember looking at you guys sleeping and being like, because we would read at night, and sometimes you guys would fall asleep, and I was like, you play such an important role in healing. Just by being you and just by being who you are. I was like so grateful that God had given like our family you, because we wanted all to help, but I'm like, for some reason it's like it was really just like God chose you in a lot of those situations to be a salve and to be a comfort because of the relationship you guys had.
Yeah, I didn't even realize that until much later when you told me, and I was like, what? Like, what do you?
Yeah, because
like looking back, I can kind of see it, but it's like we just play Minecraft, or we just do it like that was just kind of the way to do it.
Yeah, it was breathtaking seeing you guys together. And Katrina had her own way of helping and being who she was, and then I think when Mila came, what was that like for you?
It was weird, especially because like we couldn't, like at first we were just like we just stayed with my grandparent at that point, and
what, like while I was in the hospital?
Yeah, while you were in the hospital and that type of thing, and that was it was strange. I think we moved into our house at that point, so it was like a little bit like it wasn't super unfamiliar to stay at a grandparent's house, but it was like it wasn't our house at that point. I don't know. Yeah, it was like it was weird because like then it was for sure real, like yeah, I don't know how to describe that feeling. It's just like there's a new life form. And
what was that like, being a big sister to a baby?
There was a lot to learn.
You
gotta learn like to keep small balls and things away so they don't choke.
It changes.
You gotta learn that they can't like get up and walk around and do whatever they want to do. Like they have to like they depend on you. And otherwise, like if they roll on their back, they're stuck on their back. Like kind of thing, or something like that. And so that was like, I guess, difficult and like confusing. Like I also remember thinking that like buttons were so much easier than a zipper. On like a onesie, because she always had button onesies until we finally transferred, and you were like trying to convince us that it would be easier.
The zipper?
The zipper would be easier than the buttons.
That's
and I was like, no, it's not. Like the buttons are the easy thing. And then I was like, I'm never going back.
That's funny. I don't think you ever told me I was right, but I don't think I cared. Like I'm up in the middle of the night and the zipper's easier. That's funny. Yeah, I just watched you guys be such amazing siblings, but I knew like there was some worry about things changing again, like because we had just moved in our house in January and then Mila came in April. I mean, so everything felt like it was finally settling. And then it's like, and now there's a baby. And I just watched how you did such a beautiful job at that.
Yeah, I remember that point in my life being really unsettling, like not feeling grounded
Yeah.
because like you went from one grandparent's house, which didn't really feel settled because you weren't there for very long, and then you
Right.
go to the other grandparent's house, and then you go to your actual now house, like your
Yeah.
that we just built, and then it's like, and then you have, and then your dog dies, and then your sister is born, and also before that your aunt and uncle die, and you have two more siblings. So it's like it really didn't feel like you had like, or at least I didn't
Mm-mm.
feel like I had anything that was like
No.
super firm
Mhm.
because I wasn't really firm in my faith either. So
Mm-mm.
yeah, it was really weird.
Yeah. Okay. So now being 16-year-old Aydan, with all that of the ways that you've grown and the way you see it, like if you would time travel back and talk to 10-year-old Aydan, was there any encouragements you'd give her?
No, I can't think of anything actually because like
Mm.
if I had given myself encouragement, I may have not been able to go through some of the hard things because I would have
Mm.
avoided them, and then my
Mm.
character wouldn't be the same or
Mm.
something like that. Because it's like if I go back in time and like, hey, you're gonna get through this, then I would just like younger me would be like, okay, I'm gonna get through this, like whatever. Like
Mm.
I don't have to,
Do all this, the
yeah, I don't have
work
to do
of
the work
healing.
of
Yeah.
trying to get through it because I know it's gonna
Mm.
be okay, and then it wouldn't be okay.
Mm.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like in some ways, like I wouldn't because I would say like I guess maybe saying like that the work is worth it or something like that. I guess.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. So tell us now what life's like now. Like, where are you at? Like, you mentioned your faith. Like, how have you grown in your faith since then? What's your relationship like with
I feel
God
like
now?
yeah, I feel like everything is a lot better.
Mm.
My
Yeah. Speak
relationship
to
with
anything you
school
want.
is a lot better.
Yeah.
Especially because like we jumped in.
Yeah.
And I recently like found those grades again, and we didn't really care about the grades as much. Like you didn't care, at least that year
No.
especially. And I was like, yeah, I've grown like a lot in that. Also like the subjects I did better, and I'm like, nope, I don't like those subjects. I like these ones that are
Yeah. So you know yourself a bit more.
yeah. And then I feel like these like crazy things you learn, and like I don't know, like I mentioned Antigone and like that kind of thing. Like
Yeah.
those plays, they're gross, or like you're like, why are we reading this? And then you're like, but then it helps you to understand why God's law is God's law, like why you can't like in uh Oedipus the King, I think that's the one, but it's he accidentally marries his mom, and
Right.
it's like that's why like
Right.
it's like the whole thing is why you wouldn't like why God made that like against
Yeah.
his law and that kind of thing. So that's cool like to understand that. And then also I feel like I've grown just in like my prayer life and that kind of thing. And there's like a whole bunch of things that have to build and experiences that have to happen for that. Like for me, Link was a huge one actually.
Right.
I got really sick at Link.
Yeah.
I got like minor food poisoning and
I don't think that was
dehydration.
minor. Well, I guess you didn't have to go to the hospital, but
No, I think it was minor because Dad
oh.
and I were talking, and it sounded like there was a couple things like minor food poisoning, dehydration, and then also overexhaustion.
I see the combo together because
Mhm.
it was pretty violent for a while.
Yeah. And so, but that was a really like good experience for me because everyone else had to go like because that was the last day, so it was like commencement. Um, and so Amy just stayed with me because Mom wasn't there and Dad wasn't there, and I
Mhm.
didn't have any of the things that I normally rely on like the same way at home. Like I'm just like I want my mom, I want to go home, and like that
Yeah,
kind of
for
thing. But it's
sure.
also like you can't go home. You have to live through this. And it's like, but I also don't want to leave my friend. Like I want to be like as much as I can with my friends and like that kind of
Mhm.
thing. And so
So how did that help you grow in your relationship with God? You were saying
I
that
was able
you
to have a lot of time to like I guess meditate over like the different things that I had
Mm.
learned or like the different things God was teaching me. And it was just it really did feel like I was being provided for and I didn't have anything else to cling on to except for God in that.
For sure.
Like as fully
It
as
was
I
like you and him though, really. I mean,
yeah, it
like,
really
yeah.
was.
No
And
one
so
else
that
could
was
fix it. Yeah.
yeah, and there's been a few other things like that where it's just like it sucks, but you have to go through it. And then
Yeah.
you become a better person or stronger person or
Well, that's kind of what I hear
from
you
it.
saying, even when you're talking about like your journey from when you were like 9 or 10 all the way to now.
Yeah.
And then you're talking about like this one instance, but I'm like, it's actually a beautiful, I mean, like simile of, well, not beautiful because there's throw up involved, but like,
Well, it
but
was
it
still
really
beautiful though.
is. Tell me, yeah, explain a little bit more what you mean. Why
Well,
is it still beautiful?
I mean, it's the providing.
It's the providing.
Yeah.
And it's the thing you don't want to do, right? Or the ugly and the
Yeah.
and the hard and the
Yeah, and I mean, like, I wouldn't have changed almost anything about that trip. I mean, maybe a few things. And
Mhm.
even like doing that gave me time to reflect over like if I had like because like I kind of like went into Link like thinking like this is what I want to happen. And I'm um like did I fit that expectation and like that kind of thing. And I'm like, I really don't have many like or any regrets basically from
Mm.
that. And that was a lovely feeling as well. Like not having regret. Like
Mhm.
one thing I was like so happy about is I went down and like took a whole bunch of pictures with my friends, even though I wasn't feeling the best. But
Yeah.
I wasn't contagious or anything.
Right.
So I like went down and took a whole bunch of pictures, and I'm like I treasure those pictures. They're so
Yeah.
fun, and I love
Yeah.
that I got to say goodbye and like
Yeah.
that kind of thing.
Well, to me, it sounds like actually you're like just your view of that, like that you wouldn't change it. I mean, that really is like a view of like when things go wrong in our lives and then they like give us good, right?
Yeah.
It's like, yes, you would never have said, I want to get food poisoning on my trip that I've been
Yeah, and I
saving
mean,
for.
like, I wouldn't want to get food poisoning if when we go again this year because Kieran's graduating. But
Right.
like, I don't want to get food poisoning again. But I mean,
Ever.
like,
Ever, ever.
but I'm like, if that does happen,
Right. You trust that
yeah,
good will come from it.
yeah, and I can learn, and hopefully I'll stay better hydrated. And
What would you say to someone who's maybe even a little younger than you that has something really hard, whether it be like for a couple days or a couple years? Like, what would you say to them? Kind of like how to not only survive it, but to find goodness from it.
yeah, I don't know. It really just depends on your perspective and where your focus is. Because if you're
Speak to that.
focusing, it's
Mhm.
like if you're in water, if you focus on the water around you, you, you will probably like. I mean, you might sink. Or if you focus, or like if you're in the sky and you focus on the ground, you got to focus where you are. But like if you're in the water and you're like treading water or something and you need to get somewhere because like you're getting tired, you need to focus on land, the place you're trying to go. Or if you're in a
Mm.
plane, you need to focus on where you are. You're not focusing down if you're afraid of heights. Like you're not gonna
Right.
you're not gonna be like, oh my gosh, like what like I have to get down there by myself, like or like
Right.
in this plane, like kind of thing. Like I have to survive getting down there. And it's like,
Yeah.
but if you take it one step at a time, it's like, no, I
Mm.
just like I get to be along for the ride kind of thing of the
Mm.
plane. And then like the pilot, he has it. Which I feel like
Mm.
is kind of God in some ways. It's like
Yeah.
he has control. And then like if I needed to do something, like doing that as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
But just kind of leaning into that.
Mm. Yeah. Which really a lot of times is kind of leaning into the pain, isn't it? Or leaning into like what's happening.
Yeah.
It's like, and you've used the word acceptance. I think that is so much of what is given, like from my perspective, is giving you peace. Is like, I accept that this is really hard. I watch, you're a dancer, and like, I mean, like an amazing dancer, and she puts on those toe shoes, and it's really beautiful. I just have to tell you guys, but like even in that, I like watch that like through pain, all this beauty comes. So it's almost like the thing even you love, like
Yeah.
there's this pain to create this beauty, and I'm like, wow, what a paradox. And like even as you're speaking, it's like a lot of the beauty of your life, from what you sounds like, is like
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
And I mean, like some of it doesn't necessarily have to always have pain for it to be beautiful. Like I have some relationships that aren't painful relationships.
You're right. So sometimes beauty is just a gift.
Yeah.
Sometimes you don't have to like
Yeah.
go through, but I do think like some of the deepest beauties that you're talking about have been definitely because you chose to lean into it. Like you said, that's beautiful. You're a really creative person. And I wanted you to kind of explain what ways, like over the years, I think it'd be a very, very long list, but I mean, like right now in your life, what are some creative avenues and mediums you're using? I want to hear.
Okay. So some of the lesser ones are painting, clay, ukulele, baking. Those are kind of some of the smaller ones that have been bigger in the past. Well, not really ukulele, but like have been a little bit bigger.
Sure. Yeah.
And then the ones that are like, I guess more prevalent now are like costume or like outfit designing kind of thing. So like fashion and a lot of that. And then like some of that includes like I've been trying to do different hair or makeup or something like that.
Yeah.
To like just like so I can have like full look kind of thing.
Definitely.
And then also dance. That's a huge one. That one's kind of always been huge.
What would you say is your role in the family? Because we were saying Kieran's kind of like, she described herself kind of as a mom, and and then KK kind of described herself as the comedian. And it's not that you're one thing at all, but it kind of gives people a picture of, like how our family like dynamics work. So what would you say some of your roles, or like how you like, What are some of the beautiful ways that you add to this family?
Yeah, it's hard to say it in like one or a couple words kind of thing, but I feel like if I had to, I'd say like I'm the squirrel and chipmunk.
Yeah, I love that.
Because like I'm the person who's like going 90 miles per hour, like that kind of thing. Like, that's like me talking. And then I'm also like, like I'm gathering all the things, like collecting, like I
So true. So true.
yeah, and like
Story get away for later.
yeah, or it's like I think a lot of times people think I'm like like I have a ton of energy. I think sometimes like
Yeah.
Kieran and I have that conversation all the time. Because I'll be like talking 90 miles per hour, and then Kieran will be like she'll be like, you must have so much energy, and I'm like, no, I'm actually really exhausted.
Right. I think you're an external processor. Do you think you're that?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and Kieran's an internal processor. Like, so it does look different.
She's my external processing unit, actually.
Kieran is?
Yeah. That's what I've dubbed her that.
Yeah.
Title.
What does she think about, you think?
Oh, she's fine with it.
She just
half the time she zones me out, and I'm fine with it. Like I'll let her know if I need her to listen, but like I'm just like talking to her so that I'm hearing it myself, but I think someone's listening, so I don't feel silly.
I remember when you were 5 years old, you sitting in the back car seat, and you're like, and I talked to another mom. They're like, oh yeah, when they're 5, they do that, and then it just, you grow out of it. No, I love your chatting. When Aydan like leaves for a week or something, the house is so quiet. Like everyone actually feels very sad. So you add a lot of joy to our house. Just so you know, like it also is like this joyful like feeling having you around. So I wrote a book, and what is it like to be in a book? What has this experience of having this book be published, and what were your thoughts on it?
Well, one cool fun fact is the fact that I'm in a book. Like I'm a character. I'm a character in a book, which the character is me. So it's kind of nice.
That is nice.
Yeah, I don't know. It did definitely feel weird, and it was like I didn't like with releasing it and stuff. I was just like, I don't know, what's gonna happen, and like that kind of thing.
Yeah,
and like
yeah, it's like so unknown, isn't it?
And it is kind of nice because people like it's especially like I've gotten better at explaining because we just have so many complicated things like school.
Yeah.
Like you go to an online school, but then you go to an in-person thing, and so it's like it gets really confusing.
Yeah.
And then it's like a book, like the book or a family or like anything like that. It's like it's like so they're your cousin, but they're also your sister, and it's like, wait, how does that work? Or like whatever
you
it
have
is.
Different last names.
Yeah, you have different last. People get really confused on the different last names.
Yeah,
thing.
for sure.
And it's also funny when people like in online classes they realize we're in the same room and we're siblings.
Yeah,
because they're like, wait, you and KK are brother and sister? Like what? like. Like that would, and then they're like, that explains so much. Like
that's really funny.
No wonder you guys are always going at it. Like,
like making fun of each other.
Yeah,
that's awesome. That's great.
Yeah, and so it's nice to be like, if you want to know a more elaborate story, read the book. Like
right, more detailed for sure. Yeah,
yeah, definitely. If it's like if you want to know like what kind of how that works, like
yeah.
I thought it was interesting because I never really realized that like how much you thought I was connecting, like and like that kind of thing.
You mean like connect?
You said like I was the glue. Yeah, I'm like I don't feel that way. I don't like I don't see that in myself at all. Like yeah, and then it's like I hear you saying that, I'm like that's like really cool, but it's like I just even sometimes after I hear it, I'm like. I like sometimes I see it and sometimes just like,
you were just doing you.
Yeah.
You were just like yeah. So maybe that's good. Maybe sometimes we need to like help each other see like those beautiful parts that they've been doing that like we would miss so much, but they're just like that's just me living life.
Yeah.
Meetings, but I remember us having a team meeting and me kind of like sharing with you guys this idea of writing this book.
Is that where we got the idea for the jerseys? Or like how we have our adoption?
That was another team meeting of like how we wanted to do adoption.
Oh, I see. Because it would have been funny if it was like a team meeting. It was like we were a team.
We actually did make. Yeah, you could explain that.
Yeah, so we got matching t-shirts for adoption day. We gave a whole bunch of people these shirts with like this emblem that says strong backbone, soft heart. Yeah. And then we say like when the adoption was established, and then on the back of the shirts they say Molden. But for us 7, they say Molden and then our number. So in age order, so Dad's 1, Mom's 2, Katrina's 3. My number's 5. Yeah, and so we each
So
have
we
a
really are
number.
team now.
Yeah, we are team.
We have team jerseys and everything.
Yeah, and we got like a little one for Mila that has a 7. And then
Yeah, I'll
like,
have to share a picture. I mean, once in a while you just see us wearing them. And what's really funny is sometimes we'll show up to an event and we'll like 2 or 3 of us will be wearing them.
yeah,
We're
it's really funny when
we're
you're
"What?"
like,
and instead of anybody being mad about that, they're like, I didn't know. The other person's like, I should have worn my Molden shirt.
yeah. No, it is always funny, like, especially with co-op, you see like a lot of times you see people wearing them.
Yeah.
And like I don't even think much of it anymore, but they're nice shirts. I like them.
It's so beautiful to have a tribe. I think it really was like visually beautiful to see people who support us so well, all wearing these like team shirts in a way.
Yeah.
So like supporting your family. But when we did have that meeting and I like brought down the idea, like, what if we, because you knew I was writing and you had heard some of the stories, but when I said like, what do you guys think of this becoming a book? What do you remember as your feelings about that?
I don't know. I don't really remember it.
It must
when
not
you
have
did
been.
that. It didn't
Yeah.
really make an imprint to me. I mean, like, it just was. Like, it wasn't
Yeah.
like, it wasn't like,
I know you were super supportive, but right, you weren't like, nobody was really surprised. Everyone's like, yeah, that's a good idea. So there wasn't
Yeah.
like this big climactic moment in the meeting, but
Yeah,
so
it's
that's
like,
probably.
what?
Do you think that's how it just went for you?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I feel like I just didn't know what it'd be like, so I
Mhm.
wasn't really necessarily happy or excited. And I wasn't like angry or any like nothing like that at all.
Yeah.
But like I just didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
Which is kind of this is a lot of what my life is now that we're reflecting over my life, because
Right.
it's like what
That's right.
it was just
You're saying yes to
Yeah.
the next step, but you can't picture it.
yeah.
Yeah. That really is like an anthem of your life, isn't it?
Yeah.
You say yes, and just like you were talking about with the food poisoning, it's like you watch God provide. What would you say your relationship like is now with your siblings, with all 4 of them?
I don't know. I feel like I learn things from all of them. Like I learn witty responses, especially from KK.
Yeah, for sure.
And I don't know, like also like helping how to take care of people, which I kind of learned from all of them in different levels.
Mhm.
Like yeah, like Kieran is very servant-hearted and how she's always willing to help. Mila actually is a lot of that too in a lot of ways. Like, well, really all of them do. But like Mila will be like, I don't know, she just is like that, like chipper or silly goofiness. And Katrina's taught me a lot about like building relationships with people and like how she's built relationships with us.
Mhm.
And caring for people and loving them. She's done that a lot, and I think she's tried to do that, like, because I mean when we were younger we didn't always get along and that type of thing, because just like siblings don't get along
For
always.
sure, for sure.
But she's always made an effort for that to all of us, which is
Yeah.
great. And I also really love having a brother in so many ways, because it's like I
Yeah.
just get to understand him better, because he thinks a lot differently than I do, and I feel like Kieran even thinks similar to I do in some ways. And so it's like really interesting to get the different like outlook on it, and like we have some really fun conversations some of the time, like while
Sure.
we're doing dishes or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like his thoughts on like, you know, whatever books we're listening to or whatever, or
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
swing dancing, that's a huge one. It's
Yeah.
fun.
So do you still dance in the kitchen?
Oh yeah, probably me more than anyone.
Yeah, but there's a lot of dancing, huh?
There's a lot of dancing.
Yeah.
So it's fun. We have like the, we have like the good, like, just music we like.
Yeah.
And then we have like the musical, Greatest Showman, Hamilton,
Yeah.
songs we play, and that we all like know most of the lyrics. So
Or
like
the Disney playlist.
oh yeah, or the Disney playlist. And then like you go as dramatic as you can be, like,
yeah,
let's get down to business,
oh,
like,
yeah,
or whatever.
absolutely.
And, like, just,
or
like,
the
felt
Gaston
it.
singing.
Oh yeah, Gaston's pretty fun.
Okay, so I have a question. If this book was to turn into a movie, which actress would play you?
I don't know. I'm not really good with actors. Who do you think would play me?
Oh, I don't know.
What did the other siblings say? I feel like Zendaya could play like Kieran
KK said, I
Kat.
can't remember the name right now, but it was from Adam Project, the younger
Oh
Adam.
yeah, that would
Ryan
be
Reynolds younger.
Yeah,
But everybody kind of agreed that like Ryan Reynolds would be an older good KK, because he's just gonna
yeah.
he can have that rat-a-tat-tat humor. Kieran wants to play herself.
Oh yes, that would be fun.
Right.
It would be fun to play yourself. But the
the
weird
only-
thing is,
yeah.
age. Age is the only problem because the
right,
book takes
because
place
the
when you're
younger,
10.
yeah, and I kind of think of it as broad
Yeah,
than
broad
that,
strokes.
just like who even now would you be, but
Yeah.
yeah. How about any actors for me or dad or anybody else in the family?
I feel like dad would need someone who's like really, or who's really good at acting in whatever way, as like the firm kind of thing, like the like everyone's afraid to talk to you kind of thing, like that kind of look.
Yeah.
But then like when you actually get to know him, you're like, wow, this guy, like, he cares for his family in so many ways. Like, he stays up late at night working on the house so that they can take care of that, or like working on heating for other people, and like all these different things. Like, he cares really well, and like he loves really deeply and really well. And I think for you, you need someone who has like a little bit of spitfire to them in some ways, and then also can just like, I don't, they have to be able to take care of 5 kids, so maybe someone who actually has kids of their own. Because like
some experience would be good for them.
Yeah, because you can't act, I don't feel like you can fully act. I feel like maybe any of us 5 could, because we've seen it in action kind of thing. But like you have to have like that kind of, you have to have seen that or like experienced that, like protect,
because
like
it's a busy life.
yeah,
Is that why?
I feel like it's busy, and I feel like you have to be able to like know your kids, know your kids basically. Like you need to know their limits and like what things they like you can, you know what movies I like you know what type of shows I can watch and which ones I can't handle, and like that kind of thing. Like I trust you in some things. I'm like, what did mom say? Like whatever, like what did mom say on this movie? And then like, you know, as we go, if it's like a scary movie, you just help me spoil it through the whole thing slowly, so that way I'm still getting
she likes movie spoilers when it's scary. She's like, just tell me if anything's gonna happen.
Yeah.
So that's my job sometimes.
Yeah, some movies I'm like, I know who's gonna die, and like at what point in the story I'm like, okay, this person's
the only way we can get her to watch certain movies with us is pretty great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then yeah, I feel like you need something like that. I feel like a big thing that they need to do is like hair color and texture and stuff, because I feel like that's a big part, like
yeah,
in some ways.
Yeah,
I
you
don't
mean
feel
like in each character?
Yeah, in each character. I feel like that each of our hairs help show a little bit of our personalities.
For sure. Can you explain that?
Yeah. Okay, yes. So I feel like my hair is definitely like curly, wild, frizzy, fluffy, kind of something like that, like go in every direction at once.
And how's that relate to your personality?
Because I'm frizzy, fluffy. No, I don't know. I just feel like people think of me as a bubbly person or like a very energetic person a lot of times, and
your hair has the energy.
My hair has the energy. It puts energy to make it work.
That's very good.
And then I think Kieran is definitely like the straight hair that if it's like in a braid and then you unbraid it, it's like perfectly crimped, like kind of thing. Or like if you curl it, it stays curled all day, like kind of thing. And so I feel like that's her, because she's very like consistent in a lot of ways, very straight, but she also has like her surprises and then like her like steadiness in a lot of ways, like that, or like that kind of thing. Or like how you could think of it as like, you know, like when she wants to make her hair look like curly or whatever, she can, and then it stays curly. And then KK is definitely like that, you know, the style swoop that he always does is like I don't know, very very like classy kind of thing, you could see in a lot of ways, but like still, you know, having his moments of silly or fun or whatever, especially when his hair doesn't behave. Like Katrina with her wavy hair, and like how the waviness is like, it shows that like you can kind of go different ways with things. Like you can go, like has that part of her that's very kind and nurturing and that kind of thing, but then also the part of her that can like stand up and be firm. And then your hair, you also kind of have that thing, especially when you have it in like your little messy bun, which is my favorite.
Which is typical.
Yeah, which shows a little bit of like that fun, silly, like kind of thing that you always want in a person, like the little like
the firework on their head.
Yeah. But then also you can make it look like really good and really like professional in a lot of ways.
That's true. Yeah.
And then Dad definitely has like a lot of the practical. He's practical, but he's also like generous and kind and like that kind of thing. So it's not like only that. It's just it's different ways, because there's also like because he has 2 kind of hairstyles that he does. He has like the buzz cut, and then like the one where it's like KK's like on the side and on the back.
Yeah.
And so it kind of shows, I guess, a little bit of that in some ways.
Yeah. You're very insightful. I really liked that. So thank you so much for being part of the show.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for watching.
I'm so honored to be your mom. Say bye.
Bye.